Okay, cool. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Hack Nation Live. I'm your host, as always, Aaron Bennett from Hack Nation, the owner. As a guest today, I have with me in the studio Don from Duffin Diesel. Been a player in the machining industry for pretty much your entire life, haven't you?
Pretty much, yes.
When your dad started the business, didn't he?
1970, my mom and dad did, correct.
I've been telling everybody 1973, so I was a little off.
Not bad.
Close enough, right?
Definitely.
So, anyway, guys, he's here taking his time in the studio today to answer questions from you guys if you have them. He does all of our machining. He machines all of our blocks and any other kind of special stuff we need. He machines quite a few heads for us. He certainly knows his way around that kind of stuff. So pretty excited to have him in here today. If you're joining us from TikTok, we highly encourage you. Flag for hate speech. TikTok flagged me for hate speech.
Hate speech.
Maybe because we're both white. If you're joining us from TikTok, we highly encourage you to go over to Facebook or YouTube to watch this. It's a much more interactive experience. You can see the caller, or you can see us, and you can hear the caller. It's just a better experience over there. It's Hack Nation over on Facebook or YouTube. The call-in number, guys, for anybody who wants to call in is 573-422-4225. If you want to join in, we'll take your calls. It's currently nobody on hold. So, Don, I'm curious. I have a question for you. Rottler, you have a Rottler in your shop.
An EM79.
And that's where you do most of the magic you do for me.
100%. Yeah.
What did you guys, I mean, you guys haven't had that thing forever.
No, for about a year and a half now. We've just been doing it like most of the machine shops here in Central Texas on an old Burco Born bar. And, I mean, Rottler's been around for a long time, but just the initial cost investment was rather large. But kind of as years have progressed, losing machinists, right? I mean, it's a dying trade. You probably see it as good mechanics. And so we wanted to automate instead of populate our shop, and having that piece of machinery has just been incredible as far as consistency and speed.
And so I'm guessing you had to have multiple machines to do what that one was doing.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So it would take 3 machines to do that one. So born bar, a line born machine, and then a surfacer to do it. And so that Rottler does all 3. So with like on your Cat C15s, we can do all 6 lowers and surface it pretty much in one day. You can get different lower sleeve packages where they come unfinished, or an oversized if somebody really hurt one, or if it hurt an existing sleeve in there.
Yep.
And then also we can do the water directors on the C15, which just gets chewed up by those, those O-rings just don't seal that great.
Yep. You've done quite a few water directors for us.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's really nice machining.
Question in the comments here. Have you investigated speed of air pistons, and what do you think about it? And do you know if they are ceramic or not? They are ceramic. I do happen to know. I've actually seen them being made. Be a little careful about what I say about them, but I would like to say that I would like to see them prove to everybody that those pistons actually do the things that they say they do. And they would have to do those tests without them being ceramic coated to make me a believer. That's all I really got to say about that. Again, I don't want to get too in depth. The people that mess with their pistons are doing a lot of stuff for me, so I got to dance a little lightly there. We do have a couple callers. We'll go ahead and take one.
Yeah, heck yeah.
All right. Hello, you're on the air. Arthur, I think.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Good. What can we do for you, brother?
All right. Got a couple questions. Have you ever heard of, or what's your thought on putting used motor oil in your diesel fuel to keep your injectors lubricated?
Of course, I've heard of that. Guys do all kinds of things in that nature. You know, one of the more popular ones is to pour hydraulic fluid or power steering fluid, which I do not recommend at all because those products are literally made to resist compression. You know, they're made to operate with pistons that are under pressure and not dissipate. In your injector is exactly that. You're asking to damage your injectors. Putting used motor oil in your diesel fuel would be a lot more beneficial than putting something like hydraulic fluid in your diesel fuel for sure. Just would I recommend that you do it? Probably not. I don't think it would hurt anything, especially if you're not putting much. You know, you're maybe putting 5 or 10 gallons or something like that in a 150, 200 gallon tank. But I mean, it's really kind of like, why? You know, why do it? You're really retarding the burning efficiency of that fuel, and it's not going to burn as efficient or as hot. So that would be one concern with doing that. The idea of lubricating your fuel, there is some merit there because when they went to low sulfur fuel, your sulfur was the lubricant additive in diesel fuel. So in your older injectors, N14s, CATs, stuff like that, there is some merit to people that say you need more lubricity, but you can get that from a product like Power Service, which is going to do you a much better job than dumping used motor oil in there.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. And what about okay, I appreciate that. What about when you do the coating, it's your on your kit? Does that do you have to compensate any other, like how much does that add to the piston? Like, do you have to bore out a little more if you're putting coated pistons in?
No,
Okay, it's that thin.
We're shooting for somewhere between 1 and 3 mils, and you have to remember that a piece of paper is 10 to 12 mils. So there is not much on there.
Okay. So it's nothing really, honestly.
If you were to run a plastic gauge on my bearing that's been coated versus a bearing that was factory, there would be there would be so little difference. The margin of error wouldn't even make up for it.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that's all I needed to know for tonight, fellas. I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Have a good night, and thank you for the call.
You too. Thanks.
It's unbelievable to me how many people actually use hydraulic fluid and power steering fluid. I don't even know where that comes from. It has to come from your type.
Shit, no way. No, heck no. But I mean, but you're losing the sulfur in the fuel. I mean, like running natural gas. I mean, that thing is so clean, it just crushes valve seats.
Yep.
There's no natural cushion, right? And so, I mean, I wouldn't do that. I would use an additive where they know mixing it with fuel is not going to hurt it. But it makes sense to add some cushion so you can have valve life.
Yeah.
Longevity.
I mean, you've probably done quite a few natural gas engines.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine's rebuilt quite a few of them, and he said that they're just everything about them so much cleaner.
It's so cleaner, but it's just so hard. Like valve train. We're doing. We do for the Via buses here in town, so they're all natural gas, and so their life longevity is shorter.
Is it really?
Just because of how hard it is on everything, because you're burning so clean. There is just no cushion for when the valve hits the seat. There's no cushion in just all of it. It just burns like the burn pattern on top of a piston. There's no soot, right? I mean, it's just almost reddish on top because it just burns. And I mean, all of it. I mean, the heat, everything about it is just harder on the motors. I love them because we see them all the time.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. I see a lot of questions in the comments here, guys. The number is 573-422-4225. We'd like to take some of your questions as calls if we could here, because we have callers stacked up. So go ahead and take another one here. Brandon with the C6NZ. What can we do for you, brother?
Yeah, hi. I'm gonna give you a little bit of rundown. I'm actually a diesel mechanic. I just gonna pick your brain on what happened here. We had a 6NZ that the Jakes came into the shop and wasn't working. We took the valve cover off, and the cam bearing, the number on the cam bearing, had worked one of the bearing races out up into the head. And we talked to the customer, went ahead and did a complete rebuild on it. Well, it got all the parts from Highway Heavy Parts. Just put a new head on it, new piston liners, bearings, everything in it. And can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so started it up, it ran fine, no blow by. And about 20 miles down the road, there was another tech that took this thing for a drive. It started spitting and sputtering, started shooting oil back about the dipstick, took it apart, and the number 5 cylinder on it had just literally just scored. And it was just blowing smoke or blowing oil back up. So we went ahead. The only thing we didn't do was replace the piston coolers in this thing. And whenever I took them all 6 out this time, the number 5 one was bent. I mean, maybe an eighth of an inch when you lay them right on my toolbox and look at all 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
The number 5 one was bent down a little bit more. Is that the only thing that could have caused this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime that you have a
Okay.
I mean, so that liner was probably roasted out, right?
It was the rings and everything were almost melted, and the liner was junk.
Yeah.
And then so we got to looking at it. Number 6 actually had a couple little grooves in it too. So we went ahead and put 2 or 3 new liners in it again. And I haven't went back together with it yet, but I was just curious, is there anything else that could have did this?
No, it's the bent. If you would have told me the whole story and not told me you had a bent cooling jet, I would have told you had a bent cooling jet.
Yeah. So I don't know if that happened whenever it popping the pistons out of there from the get.
Did you guys remove the cooling jets before you overhauled it?
No, we didn't. We just left them in there, and from now on, that won't ever do that again.
Yeah, you guys bent it when you were building it. Pretty common mistake. Ask me how I know.
So it happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I got a C10 in there that I just did too. That I think it's a 02 2PN or whatever. That I just went ahead and took them all out and made sure they was all 100% exactly the same before I even. And then I put the pistons back in, and then put them back in.
Yeah, you should.
So
you should
I just wanted to pick your brain on that. I mean, I follow you. And
Highway and Heavy Parts.
I just didn't know if there was any.
Highway and Heavy Parts also sells cooling jets for very reasonable. If you're ever in that situation again, just do,
that's where we had got them, because I think getting them through CAT, they're about $100 a pop. And I think we got them a lot cheaper from them guys. So,
yep.
So, all right, man, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to pick your brain on that. I didn't know why that. So there was very few it was very minute on the number 6 cylinder too on that 6NZ. The rings were fine, but so it had a little bit of scoring on number 6 too.
Was it just on one side?
Yeah, just on one side of it.
Yeah, you need to look real close and make sure you didn't get the rod orientated the wrong way. Usually if you're scraping up one side, you got the rod in there backwards. Yeah,
well, I knew that the dowels go towards the front of the engine on that one.
Right, but you just need to make sure you didn't get that one swapped. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. All right. So yeah, but like number 5, it was just completely fucking roached. I mean, there was no,
That's a cooling jet.
Okay. All right, man. I won't take much more of your time up here, but I appreciate your answering the call.
Yep. Have a good one. Good luck, man.
Thanks.
Bye.
So, in 20 miles, that squirter.
Oh yeah.
No joke.
So when I said ask me how I
know why you answered it pretty quick. Somebody has firsthand knowledge.
In 1 month, we had 3 engines come back, all built by the same guy here, who's still here.
Yep.
Great guy, great mechanic, been with me forever. But 3 engines in a row had a bent cooling jet, and we had to warranty out 3 engines, and every one of them we pulled apart,
Just like
changed one
but
hole.
just immediately it gets that.
One of them didn't even make it through the brake yet. Yeah,
That's
they gotta have oil, man. They gotta have oil.
no. I mean, that keeps us in business. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like lack of oil and somebody running tap water in their motor.
Yeah, tap water. That's the
I mean,
biggest one.
baby, it is one of the. I mean, and it's incredible, especially with medium duty motors that we do. I mean, 6.7 Cummins, 6.7 Power Strokes. You know, like we still do those because I just like them. You wash it. I mean, like they'll come in and we're tearing them apart, and like we pressure wash everything just to get the oil off because I don't want anything with oil in the shop. And you'll hit those all the water jackets, and it's just red rust coming out. I mean, and yeah, totally.
And it doesn't take very long. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised with that cooling jet it'd be that quick.
No, I'm talking about running water in your system. It does not take, at least on the big rigs, man. The guys will come in here and you know, I've only had water in it for, you know, about 30 days or something, and it's already tearing the living shit out of it. It don't take long. Anyway, all right, guys. We'll reiterate here. If you're watching on TikTok, we encourage you to go over to Facebook or YouTube. You can hear the caller. It's a much more interactive experience. I have Don from Duffin Diesel in the shop. He's a master machinist. He's owned his own machine shop for probably longer than I've been alive. His family has certainly.
I'm not that old.
His family has owned and operated a machine shop for about 10 years longer than I've been alive. And I'm just about to get up there to the 50s. So if there's anything you need to know about machining and stuff like that, he certainly will have the answer. Two more, sir. Should I keep the 3406E 2000 in my 2000, or should we use my C15? I don't know, man. Looks like you say you're having a couple engines built here. I'd have to look at your sheets and figure out what you're talking about there. Hello, Jared. You're on the air, brother.
Hey, I got a couple questions about a motor. So we got this truck at 705,000 miles, and we just rebuilt this thing 15,000 miles ago because it had a blown head gasket out of it, and we just rebuilt it today, or we just put a new head gasket on it. Then when we rebuilt the first time, we put new head, everything pretty much, and it blew the head gasket out in the same spot, the same 2 cylinders between 4 and 5. And my boss has a 6 1/4 tune on this with stock internal, stock everything. Would that be the issue that we're having? Is a shitty tune?
Well, you can't put a 6 1/4 tune on a stock 550 engine if that's what you're asking. It's different injectors.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to.
It's a different piston crown. It's a 17-to-1 instead of an 18-to-1. It has a vastly different injector. Has a different camshaft, which is probably the most vital part that you're missing. Would be the camshaft, and it actually has different turbos. It has roller bearing turbos on it.
Exactly. And I guess I've tried to tell him this multiple times, and he just won't listen. And we have another truck that has the same tune on it, and it does just fine. But you just have continuous little issues with that truck too, with that motor.
Well, it does just fine for now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to tear it apart.
Exactly. And it's slowly doing that. I feel like because you're getting more and more blow-by out of that motor.
Yeah, because it probably broke the
rims. Yeah, and like we were looking at this when we got a new camshaft too. It scarred the camshaft in 15,000 miles.
It's the wrong cam profile, right? With that tune?
Yeah, it is, but your lash settings should still all be the same. It just has a longer lift, but I get, it's going to be combusting when it's not supposed to be.
I don't know much about tuning, so I mean, I'm just by what he's saying.
No, it's going to be fueling. If you're running, it's going to be fueling all the way over into the exhaust stroke because that profile of that 6 1/4 is going to hold everything open longer. So that's probably putting a bunch of pressure when it's not supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah, because like I'm pushing about 60 pounds of boost out of stock everything. Makes
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's possible to see 60 pounds of boost out of an Acer without it damaging anything, but that's if you're in a hard pull in the wintertime, pulling a good hill, you know, at about perfect temperature would be, you know, -10 to 10 above, and you're pulling a long hill where you're 3 miles long and 7 to 9% grade, and you see 60 pounds of boost, it's not something to get worried about. If you're seeing 60 pounds of boost running around pounding pavement, you're way too hot.
Yeah, that's because like I going through hills in Nebraska, that's where I see 60 pounds of boost.
Yeah, I mean it's not unheard of.
Okay. But that's what I figured is just way too hot of a tune. I mean, 15,000 miles on an overhaul. I mean, it really shouldn't have spit out a head gasket already.
No. My BX, one of my BXSs, I switched to hauling really heavy for Alaska anyway. I was hauling fuel, so we were 113 to 116,000, you know, and we're pulling grades that are up to 17%. Some even get up as much as 18, but they're shorter runs. But your average is somewhere between 9 and 12% grade. So it doesn't matter if you're hauling 150 on flat land. That's nothing like hauling 96 to 110 on grades like that, right? And I turned mine up in the first trip I took out. It blew a chunk the size of your two hands right out of the back of the head gasket.
Oh.
I mean, I learned my lesson really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wanting somebody else's opinion because I just keep getting shot down every chance I get to say anything about it. So I just wanted to make sure.
Well, just let it keep costing him money. He'll change his mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's already cost him 80 grand or 70 grand for 3 motors. So
there you go.
yeah, that's what I've been just saying is, well, it's not my money, I guess.
Yep.
So I'll just keep rebuilding them. I don't give a shit. I get paid for that.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good night, man. Thanks for the call.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Do you guys do much marine engines? Because we're so close to Corpus.
Some I do. So we do we have done a bunch of nothing from Corpus. This all comes from Far East Texas, near Louisiana, shrimp boat guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I was actually in Corpus a few weeks back, and I can't find where there's like boat yards for mechanic work there. I mean, I've kind of, I've looked through internet and whatnot because same thing. Like, why aren't there? I mean, boats break down everywhere.
Yep.
And maybe they haul them back to Houston.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. But no, we do some boat stuff. And so, mostly just block work, rod work, but 3412s for those shrimpers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that come from Houston to get their boats yarded out in Corpus, like to do bottom jobs and because it's so much cheaper in Corpus.
I would imagine, yeah.
But the 2 yards I know of that yard them out, they don't do any mechanic work.
I don't know.
So I don't know who does all the mechanic work. It's an industry I want to crack into. I'd like to have a shop in Corpus.
It'd be interesting, but I mean, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's why we quit doing automotive, right? I mean, that's why I like over the road and I like industrial and I like oil and gas is they need it today.
Yeah.
My dad cut his teeth on high performance stuff. And then we actually do some high performance C15 head work.
Oh, you guys do fire rings?
Oh, yeah, we fire ring them, and then, but also we'll flow them out around the valve heads, just kind of change the flow. And the guy that drags them, he tells us kind of I don't know if it works or not, but I mean, we can do it. But yeah, we O-ring it for him. He runs a totally different valve spring than what Cat uses, and I don't even know what it is, with a spacer that's probably like that tall.
Huh.
So he gets no valve float. Yeah, and so he runs the marine cam, and then I guess just tunes it to whatever. I have no idea.
But he's racing them.
Yeah.
Huh, I might have to talk to you later about.
Yeah, his head's at our shop right now.
Really?
It's pretty. It's pretty incredible. He goes all over the place. But the problem with racers is, right? Like, I mean, they don't need it today. And so like, I like diesel guys because they need it today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know who's doing all the tugboats and stuff, but that's what I'm interested in. I want to get my hand in the pocket of the tugboats down there. There's so many.
There's a lot. Yeah. No, those shrimpers, they're interesting dudes. All Vietnamese.
Yeah, they're all Vietnamese.
All Vietnamese, and I mean they drive. I mean they're literally on the border of Louisiana, so that's 13 hours to us.
Down in
like
Corpus, all of the shrimp boats are owned by Vietnamese.
Yeah, but who does all the work? I mean, all those boaters did their own work, or there's like a cousin or somebody. You know, like it's a very tight knit community. And but yeah, I don't know anybody. I've never had a phone call from Corpus from a boater. Never.
Hmm. And do you do smaller engines too? Like if a guy had like a little Perkins or something, a little Perkins four cylinder?
We do. Yeah, we do Yanmars and Doosan's.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't get parts for them. I can get parts for Yanmars, but like the Doosan's and then the Chinese Cummins motors, and we do all of those. I mean, they're pretty like FPT is a British Cummins 6.7. You know, I mean, it's all pretty much similar except for because the FPT's industrial side, not automotive side. And so they take the block, but then they change where accessories bolt. So there's just bolt holes in different spots. And you're like, wait, you know, and so, but it's pretty much everything we do. It's all the same, right? If it's a Chinese, if it's a, I'm trying to like the cat stuff, like a cat Kubota, you know, all of those. I mean, it's all pretty much the same as far as the machine work goes and the clearances and 99% of it. But then there's 1% that's so off, and you're like, it doesn't make sense. You know, it's a weird. And they don't give you any sizes.
I was pretty amazed when the couple of times I've been to your shop, just at some of the stuff that you're able to salvage. Like where, you know, people would think, well, that's got to go in the dumpster, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like, so, you know, I'm watching you pin some, you know, like where you spun a main and it's cracked out, and you guys go in there and drill it out and pin it and then rebore it, and pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's so kind of coming from the racing side with my dad is, I mean, we race blown alcohol, big block Chevys, like me growing up, and you put some holes in a lot of stuff. And I mean, and it's your toy. You're not making any money doing this, right? And so like us welding blocks back in the day, I mean, big old piston size holes. I mean, just find something that fits it, weld it back on together. And so
back in the day, you patched some blocks for me.
In
the day.
But I mean, but that's where we learned it, you know.
Week?
But, so yeah, but no crack repair and stuff. But it's the industry's changed a whole bunch as far as crack repair. The end user and what I've seen back, I mean, really like in the 80s and early 90s when we were doing stuff, if sleeving main saddles all day long, you know, like that type of customer is like, no, I get it, you know. And so like we would really make really nasty stuff back to him specs, you know, but it was people today just, if it's cracked, it's junk a lot of times.
Yeah.
Which,
well, you've done some pretty on the edge stuff for me, like that Detroit we recently did, where we got that spacer shim put on the top. And
oh, totally. I was actually looking for spacer shims maybe for a Cat C13.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly right.
A Cat C13.
Yeah, a Cat C13 that
we're waiting to get back.
We both may know about. But yeah, no, there's ways to do it, you know, and that's the one thing my dad's always taught me is like, you can fix it.
Yeah. I would before I met you, if we had a spun main, you know, and it turned it black, we just, for us it was done.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the first time I talked to you, you're like, no, man, we could take 10,000 out of all the caps, put them all back on. Of course, that makes the hole smaller.
Yeah.
And we'll just reline bore it.
Yeah.
And I was like an epiphany. I was like, well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, you know, so, right. When you think about deck height, you know, I mean, everything's critical. Like Detroit's got like 4,000s from new to minimum, which is ridiculous. Or maybe it's 7. But as you line bore a crank and it's moving up in the block, right? You're theoretically, you are changing the deck height of that block for piston protrusion or piston recession and all of that. So there's, if it's, as long as it's not cracked from the oil hole out to the sides, we can pin it, and it's just as, I mean, we have not had one come back because of our fault. That's definitely, I mean, well, that's way too big of a comment. I mean, but it's a great repair that will last just as long because you have the bearing that's going to protect it, right? You're just trying to keep a great solid structure for that bearing to sit and not move, and as long as you got good oiling and all of that, and it won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we can fix it most of the time.
Yeah, I know that. All right, we probably better take another couple callers. I appreciate the commentary though. All right, man, you're on the air.
I'm not answering this.
Hello.
Hello?
Yep, that's you, brother. What can we do for you?
Yes, brother. So my name is Sal. I'm calling from Texas, and first of all, I would like to give a shout out to the.
Did you die?
Yeah, I don't hear.
I think he was going to give you a shout out, Don.
Oh, I thought it was to you.
No, I'm pretty sure he's going to give you a shout out.
He needs to call back.
Oh, son of a bitch! If you call back, brother, I'll move you back up to the top. But we'll go ahead and take another caller here. Don. Oop, wait. Don, you're on the air, brother.
How are you?
Good, man. What can we do for you?
How are you? I got a 3176. Great little truck, but I got a ECM problem. I can't find one. I've bought a couple different ones here and there, marketplace, tried to find, sent one out to get fixed. No luck. As crazy as it sounds, I had this truck, I was building it, and before we got it finished, I went to start it, and it wouldn't start. And my brother-in-law says, "Did you shoot it with ether?" And I said, "No, I didn't shoot it with ether. You know I hate ether." And he goes, "I was reading that if you shoot it with ether, it'll speed it up enough when it fires, and it'll fire." Sure enough, if you give it a shot at ether, it'll start every time. And it'll run all day. It does die out or shut off at a lower RPM than an idle. But do you know of anyone that either fixes those or changes over to a new style ECM?
If it will start with ether and won't start unless you shoot it with ether, you have a prime problem, not an ECM problem.
I believe it's an ECM problem. I really do.
Well,
because we put one on. Go ahead.
So you guys are on the right track that a truck won't start unless it has enough RPMs, but that's easily determined by putting a jumper on it or something and making the engine turn over faster. And if it magically starts for you, then you can maybe look at that. You can look at that maybe being the cause, but as a general rule, if your ECM was having a problem, it wouldn't be starting for you in the first place. What am I trying to say here?
And I know what you're saying. The fuel runs through them. Are you familiar? You got to be familiar with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The older ones.
Yeah, that don't make no difference.
Okay.
So,
all right. No, I just know it's totally different.
So an ECM can really only go bad a couple different ways. Number one, the internal battery dies. That is the number one killer of ECMs, right? Or you can have some kind of green death going on inside, and you're going to start losing different functions. Like the most common problem you'll have is your injector drivers will stop working, right? We have a truck here right now that we believe that's what's going on. But the issue that you're talking about in particular could only be one of two things. The batteries are absolute garbage, and so they're not turning the engine over fast enough. That's the only reason the engine wouldn't turn over fast enough, is if the batteries are really low on charge, and they're just not charging up over the course of the day because they're shit. You know, you maybe have a couple of them blowing out or something like that. But if it starts with ether, you have a prime problem. You're losing prime.
Okay, it's not the batteries, because International only puts 3 in. I put 4 brand new ones.
Mm-hmm.
I've even robbed them out of something else and put them. It does the same thing. Now, I did buy one ECM from a guy, and he said it ran a little funny. It didn't really have the power that it had, and he took the truck apart and was selling parts. That one started up. It would start, but only for like maybe a month, and then it went right back to the problem that I was having.
Okay, so a guy in the comments says if it's cranks and no start, it can definitely
Yep.
be the ECM. That is true, but yours cranks and will start if you're spraying ether in it.
You give it a little shot. I mean, you wouldn't. And believe me, I hate ether. I don't keep it around. But if you were,
ether doesn't bother me.
Okay.
The
The user is the problem.
Sure.
The users are the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it to clean my hands. So, yes, it's just I don't keep it around because people don't know what to do.
A lot of people are saying it's the ECM in the comments, but I'm going to have to diverge and not agree with everyone because it wouldn't start for you if it was the ECM. You have some kind of priming problem going on there. Otherwise, it wouldn't start with ether, right? You can pretty much...
I mean, I know that makes sense. Believe me, I get it. I get it. I've done everything there was to do until I give it a shot, and I'm telling you.
Have you taken the fuel line? Have you taken the fuel line that goes right to the fuel? Have you went to the fuel pump and put a fuel line into a 5-gallon bucket of fuel?
I did not do that, but I have pressurized the tanks.
Okay.
Took the line off.
But it wouldn't matter.
The line off to make sure.
If your check valves are bad, it wouldn't matter if you were pressurizing the tanks. It would just immediately bleed off, right? And if you can get it started with bad check valves, it'll stay running. The other thing is if you're you only have one sensor on that, one timing sensor. That's the cam sensor, right? If that sensor's reading faulty, that would make it really hard to start as well. And it may read when it's running, right? But it's having a hard time reading and letting it start when you're just turning it over.
I replaced that because I thought that might be. Believe me, I've been tinkering with this thing for a couple of years, and I parked it because I got guys that understand it.
You can get an ECM and throw it on it. I mean, if you're...
Are they expensive?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I get them for very reasonable, but they're still $1,500 to $1,800.
But see, that's not terrible to me. I mean, I'm not saying it's I like it, but Cat wants like 7,000, and that's the only place that I can really, they say, yeah, we got it.
Highway and heavy parts. That's where I get them.
But
don't tell everybody; they might run out.
Okay.
But connecting that fuel straight, you do the 5-gallon bucket. That's kind of jumping the ECM somewhat.
Well, you're bypassing all your fuel lines.
Yeah, and just making sure.
You're bypassing your filter housing. You're bypassing everything.
Right.
You're just going straight to the fuel pump.
And then if it is an ECM problem, that should show you potentially.
It's at least going to eliminate. I have some kind of suction problem.
Yeah, totally right. Totally agree.
And then you can eliminate
it's
return line check valve.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to tell you everything that I've done to this thing on the phone, in this short time, because I've bypassed the fuel filter housings. I've taken the return lines off. I've had everything. I put different lines on just to try things.
Did you replace
the same thing every time?
That system only has one check valve. Have you replaced it?
On the return side.
Yep.
No, I've done numerous things.
Sure.
But, all right, listen, out. I listen to you all the time, and I watch all your videos. You guys are great.
All right. Well, I kind of pointing in the right direction where to get an affordable ECM.
Yeah, you did.
hopefully.
You did.
All right.
You
sir.
did. And have a good night. I appreciate it.
You too. Bye.
Bye now.
Oh, it's a 3176. It's a little bit smaller one. There was a comment up there that you wanted to. Let's see. I have a 2013 Peterbilt 389 with a Cummins ISX. I dropped a valve and it needs an overhaul. What is a good kit to go with? I was thinking ATL. So real quick, when you drop a valve on a head,
Right.
If it doesn't destroy it like it tends to do when you drop a valve, is there any fix for that? Can you fix a head that's dropped a valve?
Oh, I'm doing one right now. C9, like a 9.3 Acer. Original head is cracked in all 6 cylinders. That was an ether motor.
Okay.
Start up with ether every time. So, like he said ether, I started just laughing inside. So anyways, but they were real generous with the ether.
Right.
And I can't remember what kind of piece of equipment it's on, but it's the motor's back, so you can't hear it.
Yeah.
And it was just banging around. So anyways, it was bad. He found another one. They're harder and harder to find. For certain price points and whatnot. And so it dropped a valve, and it's got pretty good damage. A lot of gashes, let's just call it, right, in it. As long for us, what we do is we just take all the hot spots out, right? So when it goes to burn, you're not getting anything sharp, anything like that. So we'll blend it all back to somewhat. You'll lose a little bit of compression, but seriously, you're not going to lose that much, right? Because we are taking some material out of it. And then as long as the injector, tip port is fine, that kind of matters. If we see a lot of damage going into it, then we'd kind of hit the pause button and say, I don't know what your injector is going to be like when you put it in here, and as long as that's fine, then we'll just blend this, kind of rolled some cast iron over on top of the seat. So we'll just blend that out. We'll check if the seats are good, they're good. So when we go to cut valve seats, you'll see if a seat's going bad because it'll just move a little bit, and you can feel it when you're cutting the seats.
Yep.
And so if we feel it, like 5.9 Cummins are terrible about that, and so we'll cut seats on those, and they'll spin, and so we'll just replace them with just a little bit more press. And also Cummins uses kind of a fancy valve seat that's not steel, it's like compressed metal, and they say it helps reduce heat, dissipates heat better. But when you have an overheating problem, what we typically see with those is that you have a different heat and expanding and shrinking rate of that, and that composite one just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks after it gets hot, and then it'll spin. So we'll replace those. But with that 9.3 is we'll just blend all of that stuff. If the seats are great, if they didn't get hurt, we'll rerun it. I don't like spending people's money if we don't need to. If it's got the right recession and the seats look great, we'll recut them and get after it.
Yeah, a few nicks aren't going to hurt you.
No. It's and we'll just it's just cosmetic.
Really,
that's all it is. And yeah, you will lose some compression, but it's totally cosmetic.
Again, it would probably be in the margin of error if you had it on a dyno and we're trying to record it.
I don't know if you'd see it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think you'd see it.
You would. I don't think you'd see it either. But another question I was going to ask you on that same strain that I thought of while you were talking, and we'll take a call right after this. We'll get to you guys. Hang on. When you have cracks between like intake valves and exhaust valves and all, which is obviously one of the
C15s, ISXs all the time.
Right. Is that 100% of the time mean the head's no good?
No. So there's two ways. This is kind of where it comes back to budget. So we will magnaflux them, contact the customer and say they're cracked. 9 times out of the 10, the customer asks, do we have another head? That one person, that 10% will say, can I run it? I'm like, it depends upon how the crack looks too, right? Some you can see from space and you just know it's going to be cracked. But those cracks start, and so we can go and pressure test it. And so we submerge them, put 40 pounds psi in the water jackets, and which is a ton.
Yeah.
And so if they don't leak, that means the crack hasn't made it to the water. And it's usable. It's 100% usable. But we tell every customer, and it comes down to economics, right? I mean, these guys are maybe their only truck, right? And I mean, they're grinding to make a paycheck. And so we're like, listen, it's there. And if you are terrible with service, you will see us in 3 months, 2 months, 1 week, 2 weeks. I don't know how bad you drive your truck, right? Or some guys have run it for years, and it's just maybe it just kind of slaps in the face like, God, I got to really baby this and just make sure, I pay attention to the temperature. I pay, I'm good with my service.
Yeah.
Stuff, but it's 100%. And we can pin those. We used to do it all the time with like 466s.
Yep.
But just the market is the market, right?
His cylinder heads have become a lot more prevalent and available in the aftermarket.
100%. 100% correct.
I answered the second part of that guy's question. He asked if I would recommend ATL. The answer is really no. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you ATL makes bad products. The problem I have with ATL is they do a lot of deceptive marketing practices. They basically tell you their stuff's made in the United States and it's not. And they charge a premium for their products when you can buy those same products from other carriers like Highway and Heavy Parts and stuff like that. And you're going to get the exact same thing. They'll take their springs and paint them, and I really wonder what they're painting them with, because if they're not doing like a polymer ceramic that can stretch under heavy load, that's going to come off in the valve train. ATL, I'm not a big fan of ATL at all. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you they make shitty products. I just don't like their business model. I don't like how they do things, and a lot of people share that sentiment. But they have their customer base, so it is what it is. Anyway, I try to be careful not to throw anybody under the bus too far. So, and you got to be honest. They've been making products a long time, and people use them. You use any of their stuff?
Nope. No? None of it. I've talked, and not because of that. I just like, I don't need to use Highway and Heavy Parts because I can just go direct to the manufacturers. And so, I mean, I've called them about some camshafts, on Hurt C15 cams and whatnot, and just looking for a regrind of them. But then I called a buddy in Houston that grinds 3500 series cams, and he had a couple 3400s laying around that matched the.
Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and take another caller. Josh, you're on the air, brother. What can we do for you?
Hey, buddy. Hey, so here's the deal. I have two Pete's. One's a 2000. The other one's a 98. The 2000's got a 2WS in it. The 98's got a 6TS, and then I've got that C15 just kind of laying around. The 6TS motor, put a new head on it last year. Had the motor rebuilt. The shop up here in Washington, Spokane, didn't bother telling me that the bottom end was pitted all the hell. Put the new head on it, thought everything was good. Ran up the hill, blew the bottom end all the hell. Tore it apart and found just tons of cavitation in that bottom end of that motor. Is that worth salvaging, or should I just scrap that 6TS and use that C15?
Yeah, you should send me that 6TS. Don, this is for you, buddy.
Yeah. That motor's 100% reusable. Because that's what we do a lot for Aaron's customers is we put in new lowers a lot, and it's a great fix. It is on the.
They were trying to get me to put that putty in. Have you heard of that? Some kind of yeah.
Hang on, we gotta.
And I told them
Hang on.
Hold them.
Sorry about that.
No, we're good. It was all the
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
child abduction.
Yeah, child
Yeah.
abduction on our phones.
Yeah.
Okay, so Belzona
Great.
is Belzona is a good fix for certain things in my mind. I don't like Belzona
Okay.
and the lowers for the one I use Belzona a lot. I mean, we'll do it on some crack repairs, on some cavitation on the exterior of the block, on the interior of the block, we'll do it. But I don't want any
Okay.
metal on metal rubbing when I put Belzona on.
Okay.
Not that it won't work, it will work. But as far as staying power, I don't feel it comes off. And I see it all the time with blocks that come to our shop where a guy Belzona it. It's a great short-term fix. But those liners do walk, they do move. And so it's going to rub. The Belzona is going to be the weakest link there. And especially with cavitation, if you don't clean them out well enough, if a guy just puts Belzona in we vat clean with caustic chemicals at our place. And if you just, it's not clean enough, it's just not, you're not going to get a great seal on that Belzona. It needs something rough. And so I see it all the time, and that you can see the Belzona just getting eaten away. So if there's a shop in Washington that can put lowers in, and there's, that's what you want to do.
Well, it's coming down to you. I've literally had it with the shops up here. I'm not gonna lie.
So, but with
even the main dealer up here, I can't do business with them. They're don't hold up to the warranty. This last motor, they put the wrong main bearings in, tossed the new motor, and then had to do an outer frame on it on the 2000. And we're trying to back charge us for the parts on that, and we said no way in hell, and ended up having to go to court on that deal. And so now we're at the point now where it's, I need to get the other truck up and going, but I know this one's coming up, and
totally.
do I use that?
It didn't hurt the line board.
Do I use? They pulled it out. I don't know what they did.
Sure.
They said that they said we're doing an outer frame now, and we're like, oh, okay, well, whatever, get it right. And next thing we know, the bill went from our original 42 and some change, and jumped damn near up to 60. It was like 68 or 69,000. And we're like, what the hell? And they're like, well, we had to send it off to the shop and have some work done, and you're paying for it. And I'm like, no, you guys made the mistake. And even my wife said the same thing. We've watched your videos. We see how you are. You're like us. I'd rather do business with somebody that stands behind the work than tries to cower out and not do the right thing, because, it's an insult for an owner operator. When our trucks are down, we're not making any money, but the bills are still coming in, and then we got to pay that repair bill on top of it. So it's adding insult to injury when these shops are doing what they're doing to us. And I got no problem trailering up the other truck, bringing it down to you as well too.
Well, just give us a call, man. So the way our process works is we like to give everybody a consultation, make sure they're super educated on what they're getting into. That way, in advance where you're going to be when you leave. You know what I mean? Rather than surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
So I want to
put like, is there snakes in here?
All right, man. Well, maybe give us a call tomorrow, and I can kind of go over all those with you, and then you can make an educated decision. Maybe there's a better option there. You never know.
Yeah, no, I would. And like I said, do I put that, do I send that C15 down to you now and then have it ready by the time I bring my truck down so we could swap motors so I can still keep going? That was another option. So less downtime.
Yeah, obviously downtime's the killer. So, but yeah, give me a call tomorrow, man. The girls will get you over where
you got it, bro.
Talk to me personally, and I'll just kind of see everything you got going on, help you walk through it. All right.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yep.
You guys stay safe out there.
Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
You too.
So speaking of lowers, before we take another caller here, we'll get to you guys. Give us 1 sec. Yeah, 62,000 is insanity.
What's that?
62,000 to rebuild his engine is fucking insanity.
Yeah, that's
We will sell you a brand new fucking engine for a lot less than that, actually.
do.
For $10,000 less than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was gonna talk about the lowers really quick. So you do a lot of engines for me, like a
Correct.
lot. A lot actually, and you're gonna be doing a lot more. But I hope. But long story short, for every one that I send you that you put lowers in, we patch 7 or 8 here.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
So and you never said at any time that you can't do that, right? But we have this threshold, and that threshold is you know where the chamfer is.
100%. Yeah.
When we're below the chamfer, we don't bell zone on them.
Correct.
We send them to this guy over at Duffin Diesel. He's an asshole, but
Yeah. He regrinds cams.
he regrinds cams.
But you're 100% right. Yeah. But you're right on that part. You know, the one issue is when it gets corrosion up on that 45 on that chamfer, it's just eating behind.
Yeah.
You know.
But to your point, when we're fixing above the chamfer there, we're not dealing with metal on metal.
Correct. 100%.
And we've never had 14 years later, I've never had an issue from doing that. But when it gets down into
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
into the extremities.
Yeah. The chamfer is a different beast because you're right. Because the Belzona would be incredible as long as there's no action on it. Right. Yeah. You know, and on that 40 on that chamfer, there's not. How did it get pitting is odd. What I still don't understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, why do you think it pits there?
Oh, I know why it pits there. It's cavitational erosion.
No shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. For people that don't know, when the piston goes under combustion, it vibrates the liner so hard that it creates microscopic bubbles. And when those bubbles explode, they're under so much pressure that they actually peel the material away. They pop holes in your metal, basically.
Yeah.
And that's how you end up with cavitational erosion.
Well, that's the same like on main caps, main saddles.
All of it.
Yeah, totally.
So that cavitational erosion won't happen if you have a high quality coolant in there. And that's because it will take away the facing, but it can't go deeper than the facing because erosion doesn't happen.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
That's why your green coolants and running water, of course, but your green coolant will still end up,
doing the same.
Not as fast as water will, but
yeah,
green coolant will still eat away really bad. Okay. All right. And by the way, if we're up at the first hour,
oh,
we've
really?
got an hour left. If you need to use the facilities or anything, it's straight down over there.
Okay.
Okay. You got to get the TikTokers back online, and we'll take a caller here. Come on. All right. If you're watching this on TikTok, we encourage you to go over to Facebook or YouTube. You can hear the caller. It's a much more interactive experience. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube as Hacknation. The number to call in, guys, is 573-422-4225. If you want to join in on the show, we have 6 people on the lines here. We'll go ahead and start taking them. Nobody's been on hold for a long time. 13 minutes is the longest. So if you do call in, you won't have much of a wait, it doesn't look like. And we'll go ahead and take some callers. Arthur, you're on the air, brother. What can we do for you?
Yes, how you doing? It's me again.
Yeah.
Yes, I meant to ask you earlier when I was on. What do you think about AMS oil and that whole system?
Like their bypass system?
Yeah, like I guess it's like a filtration system so that the oil has a longer life, but it's supposed to clean the oil better while you're running the truck.
It's called a bypass system. First of all,
okay.
There's a lot of good oils out there. AMS oil is the best oil on the market. There's no question about it. AMS oil makes their oil from natural gas. It is a true synthetic. It's one of the only oils on the market that is a true full synthetic. You have a couple other ones, Mobile One, Royal Purple, but AMSOIL far and away has the most impressive additive package and has the most impressive oil. When they tell you that their oil can go to 100,000 miles plus with their bypass system, it can. It absolutely can go that long. And it will be a better oil at 100,000 miles on an engine that doesn't have like massive blow-by or something. At 100,000 miles, you pull an oil sample on AMSOIL, run the bypass system, and send it in to have it checked against your conventional oil, like Delo 400 running 10,000 miles. That oil sample is going to come back better on that AMSOIL. I guarantee it. I would bet big money on it against anybody that wanted to take that bet.
Okay. Because go ahead.
I'm working with AMSOIL right now on them. They're talking with me right now about helping me produce my own oil line. I've given them a bunch of specifications for what we're after. I'm really hoping that they work with me because they're the best. I use Mobile One in all of my personal rigs, always have. The problem I have with AMSOIL is their price point is not obtainable. Their price point makes they price themselves out of the market. And I'm trying to work with a couple of different companies, but AMSOIL is one of them, to help produce a product that has that kind of quality but is obtainable by the average person. And I'm really hoping to get that done here shortly. Somebody's asking if Rotella T5. I'm not even sure what T5 is. I know the T4 and the T6. Rotella T6, for example, that is a synthetic oil, full synthetic oil. The problem is Rotella's T6 is made from petroleum. It's not a true synthetic. They do have one of the best synthetics on the market that is affordable, right? You know, you're $20-some a gallon for a full synthetic versus like AMSOIL is going to be like what, $50 a gallon or something. It's really ridiculously priced, but Rotella is not a true synthetic. The only reason they're able to call it synthetic is because of the legal battle that Mobile One got in with Chevron over Chevron calling their garbage full synthetic, and Mobile One lost that Supreme Court ruling, and so now everyone can call their, if they change the molecular structure of it enough, they can call it a full synthetic. T5, I guess, is a partial synthetic. So what I would have to say about any semi-synthetic is stay as far away from semi-synthetics as you can. The Supreme Court ruled that there is no disclosed amount that you have to have of synthetic in a conventional oil to be able to label it as semi-synthetic. So they can have up to 1% semi-synthetic or synthetic in it and call it a semi-synthetic. And so what do you think they all do?
Yeah.
So you have to look for products that guarantee that they're doing a, you want to look on and see how much percentage they're guaranteeing is synthetic in that oil, which is exactly what we plan to do. We want to produce a 50% synthetic oil to bring the price point within reason. But we're going to put on the bottle that it's 50% synthetic. It's going to be a semi-synthetic. Nobody does that because they're ripping you off. Especially oils like Mystic oil, that their oil's garbage. You might as well just buy Delo 400 because you're getting the same thing. They're putting 1% synthetic in it and calling it a semi-synthetic. You want to stay far away from semi-synthetics. You're wasting your money.
So the top three that you would say, you said AMSOIL, Royal Purple, and there was another one you said.
Mobile One.
Mobile One, that's full synthetic, no petroleum.
Yep, those are made from natural gas or coal.
Okay. And that leads me to my next question, because I do want to bring a 6NZ down there for you guys to rebuild. I talked to you about a couple of weeks ago. When you rebuild, I can use that full synthetic. That's what you would put in right away from the rebuild.
We ask everyone not to use synthetic for the first 10,000 miles because it works too good.
Okay. So you can just switch, you just put regular motor oil in there.
Yes,
for the first 10,000 and then switch over to full synthetic.
Yeah, I learned the hard way that full synthetics really not something good to break in engines with and get them, the first X amount of miles. When I shut down my trucking company and decided to just do engines full time during COVID, I still had 16 barrels of full synthetic at my shop, and we were using that as our break-in oil because that's what I had. And we were running into a lot of problems. I had to go back and re-ring probably 5 or 6 trucks out of about 50 because they just didn't seat right. And I'm 100% positive it was because the oil was just doing too good of a job.
Okay, so first 10,000 miles, just to make sure it's okay to do,
Just
the first 2 and then switch over to full
Yep.
synthetic.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right, sir.
All right.
Have a good night, man.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
You too.
Probably better take some more calls so they don't get away from us. But one guy asked, what's a better bypass filter system? We see a lot of different bypass filter systems come through here, and I can't look at any of them and tell you that one's better than the other because I don't have a lot of experience with them. I used to run centrifuge spinners on all of my trucks. I do think the bypass system is better, and if I could go back and do it all over again, I would do the bypass systems. Those spinners are badass, but we obviously crack open a lot of engines here.
Right.
And I can tell you the ones that have bypass systems on it, fucking immaculate.
Really?
They're every time, like the valve train, all the stuff that gets damaged from oil change intervals not being,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's night and day difference. I would recommend everybody has a bypass system. I don't sell one. I don't have any affiliate or anything like that. And there's nobody out there that's got their hand in my pocket that has bypass filter system. I'm not going to suggest a certain one. I can tell you from experience of seeing engines that we open up that have a bypass filter system on them.
Just cleaner.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
It's night and day. So which one should you get? I don't know. I don't have enough experience with them. As in I ran this one and I know it works really good. I have tons of experience in seeing how well they work. And I have never noticed, okay, this one works better than this one.
It's better just to put it on.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. We'll go ahead and take a caller here. Hey, you're on the air. Alex.
Hey, got a question. I'm a mechanic on the light duty and medium duty side, venturing over into the heavy duty side, and just done a rebuild on a X15 and done my gear lash and gear setup on it. It's about a 2015, 17 X15, and went out, sounded perfect, everything rode good. Got about 10,000 miles on it, 15,000, somewhere in that area. And just boom. So the lower idler gear, right above the spring gear, had the bolts had just completely backed off and twisted. And me personally, I had a thing of like, okay, I need to put just a little bit of red Loctite or a little bit of blue Loctite on this just to have these set where they ain't there. But the guy that was doing it with me, he's like, no, he says, you need to do exactly what Cummins says, lightly oil them, put them in there, torque them. And, it's just, to me, I can't wrap my head around what went wrong or if they have a habit of going wrong or if that is just something that just has to be pinpoint perfect when you put that on there. And I just want to kind of get thoughts on it so that way, for the next time or the next one that I'm in there doing or something like that, I can kind of keep in the back of my head.
Well, the other guy kind of hit the nail on the head. If you're on Insight, Quick Serve, whatever it may be, and following exactly what they say, Cummins is the best. Cummins is absolutely the best. Pretty much anyone on planet Earth, if they're mechanically inclined at all, could rebuild a Cummins engine just by accessing the resources they have available step by step for you to do that job. Nobody can, nobody, me, Don, anybody in the studio, any mechanic out there is not going to know more than you already have resources to. And anybody that tells you to do a procedure that's different than that is a jackass.
Okay. That's just kind of like, I've never had like of course, when it let go, of course, I'm putting gears and well, I'm not putting it. Another guy's is putting gears in it, and we're having to put valves and heads and stuff like that. I mean, it destroyed the engine. Didn't destroy it past the part of fixing it, but it done damage.
Of course.
And and it's just one of them things. It's like I know I went through and I torqued them the way they was, the way that it was inside was supposed to say it, and just as a mechanic point of it, of not really getting into a whole lot of the heavy duty side of things. I just kind of wondered, is that a very problematic area that needs to be like you need to be on point when you are right there in that gear setup on that, or is there something that I'm missing?
Not that I've seen. I mean, there's so many variables that could have happened to you there, man. I don't know of any. It's not a problematic thing that I know of.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see. The other thing I was going to ask was of course, I work in the shop that I work at supplies everything, and I have I work a second job, and that's my own place. And I've always used Mac or Snap-on as far as scanner wise goes. And I was just wondering, like, is there a better kind of a scan tool that you recommend, or something that is affordable for a small person that's kind of in the middle of I'm not completely
my friend,
wanting dealership stuff.
My friend, those scan tools that you buy from Snap-on and all those guys are all fucking trash. They're trash. You're wasting your money. They do not do the job that you need to do. You have to get I don't know how to say this without just saying it. You have to get a pirated computer that has all the programs on it, like everybody else in the United States has. How you get your hands on one of those, that's information I can't disclose to you. But you're throwing money in the trash by buying those scanners off of the trucks. They do not work.
Yeah, because I'm out, yearly subscriptions on them, and it seems like it gets me halfway there, and then I'm left with
right. They don't do the job. All kinds of techs have come through here, worked for me, and had them, and I have lots of. I've been around them lots. They're junk. But I will give you one. We'll give you one little tip. Something that we do here at my shop is all of the bolts that we put into the engines internally. And I'm not talking like bolts that already have a call out, like you're supposed to put oil on your rod bolts and stuff like that. I'm talking like structure bolts and gear bolts and stuff like that. We use orange Permatex on all of them. And that orange Permatex it has the same resistance as blue. When you go to break it apart, it will come apart. You don't have to heat it. You don't have to fight it, but it is almost as strong as red.
Okay.
And it just kind of gives you this little buffer there for that margin for error where you could have had something come loose.
Yeah. And I've always, like, whenever I clean stuff out and try to put stuff back, if it's in a blind hole or if it's in a, I'm not like one that like just dips it. I'm not saying that I dip it in red Loctite and run that thing in with an electric gun, but I'm just saying, like, I'll put like a dot on it and then I'll run it in just to have like a little bit of I guess of an insurance, against it. And my gut and everyone time I was putting this motor together, I was like, I need to put just a dot of Loctite on there, just to going in a blind hole. And the guy that was with me, he's like, no, he says do it this way, and I'm like, okay. But then 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles, whatever, we get back, and then we've got a gear out of it. We're redoing the whole thing again, and it makes. Of course, I'm the one that touched it, and I take responsibility of it. It is my mess up. But at the same time, it's like, I've done it this way and something happened, and I'm like, I don't know if I should have reverted back to what I was doing before, or if I was just in the right mindset of like, that was the right way, something else happened, and I shouldn't really think about it a whole lot. But still it weighs on me.
You probably shouldn't think about it a whole lot, and you should just refer to what Cummins tells you to do going forward. I'm sure you did the first time, but just, I mean, good grief. If I lost sleep over all the shit that happened here, I wouldn't sleep.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, brother.
Hey, y'all have a good night.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Have a good night. See you.
I was going to ask you a question. We have a bunch of front structures here, Cummins front structures. I was thinking about it while he was talking.
Right.
And those front structures have the bolts that you press in. You know, they have like a star on them, and you beat them in, and they stay there,
Right.
so they don't spin when you
Right,
put them
right,
on the other side. I have
What attaches to those?
gears on the front.
Gotcha.
You know, so these go in the back side, and cats have them too. I have a bunch of those that need to be fixed. Are you the guy for that?
Don't call me. The
No?
front structure material is trash.
Oh, it's aluminum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's. I mean, possibly, but it.
They need to be drilled and sleeved. What they need, but they're probably just gonna end up in the dumpster. I thought I'd just ask.
Yeah, I don't.
was
I'd have to look at it. I tell people that on the phone all the time, like, kind of like what you're saying. Like, if you can't hold your phone up to it so I can inspect it, just bring it here so I can see it.
Sure.
If it's cost effective to do it, you know, I mean, I don't know what a front cover costs.
They're expensive.
Yeah, I mean, when David comes here, we'll just grab one.
Yeah.
Hey, but real quick, Keith Huff said a long time ago when we were talking about the chamfer pitting, and he said, "What about electrolysis?" And he's 100% correct on that too. It was funny, we were talking about it, and when I read it, it reminded me like my dad like blew up in my head. But that does have, with that pitting up on that chamfer, electrolysis does do that. Is another cause of it.
Not to argue or anything.
Yeah.
Electrolysis is almost exclusively damaging to aluminum.
100% true on that.
When you see that erosion on those lower bores,
It's only that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
That's-
because he put that in there. I was like, damn, I kind of like.
so
Yeah.
I've done
Aluminum
piles
for
of
sure.
research on
And it's no, I'm not.
electrolysis
Yeah,
versus
but it was
cavitational
something that
erosion.
kind of came up in my head.
People will call cavitational erosion electrolysis
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a misnomer. It is that stuff you're seeing going on that steel
So it's just vibration. Yeah,
within
Yeah.
the liner's realm of
of
being. That is cavitational erosion 100% of the time.
Yeah.
When you're seeing when you're taking apart your water pump and there's almost nothing left, that can be
electrolysis. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I just read that, and it's kind of just brought my dad back to.
And,
into my head.
and on our boats, we see an insane amount of electrolysis.
Mhm.
I'm putting zincs on
Yeah.
every year,
Totally.
big zincs so the electrolysis will go to the zinc and eat it up. And electrolysis can obviously affect steel, but when you're seeing in those lower bores, that's not electrolysis.
Cavitation. Yeah. All right.
But anyway, neither here nor there. In my opinion, I could be wrong, right? All right, you're on the air, Max, I think. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yes, hi.
What can we do for you, brother?
So I'm the guy that commented with the ISX that dropped the liner or the valve. Pretty much, I made it home on the truck. The valve was still in its seat. It just got stuck in there. So a little piece broke the turbo, but it's at the shop right now. It has 800,000 miles on the motor. 470, the previous owner overhauled it, but he kept the original head. And my mechanic is taking it apart right now. The head looks fine, but we have to inspect it. I just have a few routes I could take. Go with OEM Cummins, or buy like a kit online. There's just so many of them, and either rebuild my head and use it, or just buy a brand new head. Like, what would you guys recommend? What parts to go with? because I'm keeping the truck. I'm trying to run it for a while.
I'm going to rephrase it just a little bit and let Don answer that. First of all, I wouldn't go with an OEM head from Cummins. That's my first thing, because all their shit is reman, and you can get one for vastly less money that is aftermarket, that's brand new. But our rule of thumb here in this shop, and I want to hear Don's opinion on this, our rule of thumb here in this shop is if the truck has 700,000 miles on it, we don't even send the head to Don. We just junk it. And the reason I do that is because we've kind of learned from working with you that if they have over 700,000 on them, you tend to text me back that, no, this one, you probably just need to throw it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the aftermarket heads, not the only reason, I mean, one of the main reasons that there are aftermarket C15 and Cummins ISX cylinder heads is the cracking between the valve seats. Like, that is a common occurrence on those cylinder heads. And so the aftermarket guys came about and like, how do we fix this problem to make our head better? And you've talked about aftermarket stuff when you were showing putting the liners in, right? Between all the different aftermarket guys and what they have to do. And so the aftermarket guys talk about that if the water, they have more casting material between the seats to strengthen that. And then they increase the water flow, according to them, by like 30%. I think was what they said.
30% bigger cooling channels and 5%
cooling chambers. Yeah. And so right then and there, you have a better product, right? And so you're already spending quite a bit of money. So if you can upgrade your cylinder head now, and you can afford it, I think is the most important thing. I would definitely go that route of an aftermarket head.
So, but
what's a good? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to point you to Highway and Heavy Parts. That's where I get everything, right? The thing you have to understand about aftermarket heads, man, as soon as I started to talk, I forgot the name of the people that make them. They're made in China.
Jera.
Yeah.
They make all of them.
They make all.
Yeah, I researched it. They all are.
That's my problem with some of these guys like ATL. Is Jera? It's Jera, right?
Yeah.
They make everybody's head out there. Doesn't matter
who
the hell it is. They're making them for everybody. And you have guys like PDI and stuff like that will tell you that they're making their own heads. And what they're doing is they're buying a cylinder head that's not loaded, and they're putting their own valves and springs and all that in and saying they're making their own head. Well, and there's
you're 100% correct.
But most of them do that because and ATL does that. Highway and Heavy Parts does that. The Highway and Heavy Parts advertises their heads as having in-canal intake and exhaust valves. That's because they're putting them in themselves, right? Yeah, and most guys, James Daniel just commented Diesel Cast. Most guys get them from Diesel Cast, but Jera is the manufacturer.
Yeah, Jera makes all of them. Yeah, and no, it's funny. Earlier, you were talking about companies saying that they're buying things that are American made, and I had a customer come in and he needed a new C15 head. His was cracked. It's totally just junk. Every cylinder is cracked, and he's like, "Well, I buy them from this place in Washington," and he's a San Antonio guy. I'm like, really? And he's like, "Well, it's made in America." And I go in front of my computer, and we're sitting there. I go, "Who's the company?" And I can't remember. And he's like, "Yeah, they're American made." I was like, "Man, I don't know about that." And on their website, like, we proud to be American, we're in great partnership with Jera. I was like, nope, they're made in China.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all they're all of them are cast in China.
Yeah.
All of them. They come in different boxes. And then with the in-canal valves, intake, or exhaust, that's just changing from a stage 2 to stage 3, depending upon the load that you need and the heat.
Yep.
The heat expands off of the valves to release it. But yeah, there are.
In a stage 4 head has a fire rig, and then you have to have someone like yourself for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Even Highway and Heavy Parts, they sell a stage 4 head, but they have a machine shop that
do it. Yeah,
does it for
100%.
them. Yep. So I mean,
I got it.
Yeah, no, sorry, we got off on a tangent.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, yeah. I mean, I get all mine from Highway and Heavy Parts mainly because if you have a problem with it, which is incredibly unlikely, but if you do have a problem with it, you're not going to get a bunch of bullshit. They're just going to help you out.
That's the most critical.
That's
the most critical is warranty.
I got it.
Is warranty and what customer service is about.
Yep.
100%.
All right, brother.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. You guys have a great night.
Yep, you too. Bye. And when I was kind of dogging on ATL earlier, that's actually the main thing that was in my mind when I was dogging on them, because they have Jura heads, and they take the valve springs out and paint them red, white, or blue,
Yeah.
and they call it the Patriot series.
Nice
but it's-
marketing.
Yeah, it's good marketing, but it's the same head as everybody, and they charge a bunch more money for it. So that's what I mean by deceptive marketing practices. It's just bullshit,
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's in my line. Like, this people are like, man, I don't like so and so cylinder head, and but the one thing I tell them, I was like, well, they're all made the same place, but the things, when you make a million of something, you're going to have issues.
Yep.
And I've had valve train guys come to us and like, would you sell our parts? And they're American guys getting made, in China, but like they X-ray every one, which is really awesome. But until you put some load on or whatever, things are going to break. We are going to make mistakes. Manufacturing is going to make a mistake. And so when you have high volume, you're going to have it. It's just the law of averages, And so, but when guys like, man, the so-and-so sells it really only bad heads. If somebody says I bought it from India, and I'm like 100%. Yeah, you're correct. And that's, but I've seen their products come to us, and it's just not, the tolerances are terrible.
So like, I'm coming out with a head, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna O-ring all of them probably.
What I'm not going to do is tell everybody it's not a Jarrah head.
Totally right.
Right? Of course it's going to be.
It's the casting, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do different? Well, we're looking at Teflon coating the valves, the stem and all that.
The stem is important.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And we're looking at, we're 100% sure we're going to do this. We're going to Teflon coat the cam bearings and all that. And in fact, I was going to actually talk to you about that. I have some prototype ones coming here. And when you install cam bearings for me, they come back to me not marred.
Correct.
I don't know how you keep from marring them at all.
So our machinists, right? We have and my uncle's worked for us for 40 years.
I've met him.
Yeah, you met him, Donald. Scotty's worked, the two guys that came here. Scotty's worked for my dad, started with my dad when he was 18 years old, and he's like 65 now. All right.
So
nonstop.
If I send you some coated bearings to put in a head for me.
My cousin who worked for us for 16 years installs every cam bearing that comes back to you.
You think he can get them in there without marring them?
He's pretty damn good at it.
I know he's pretty good.
He's pretty damn good at
the work that comes back. But
we'll see. But hell yeah, we'll try it.
I do a lot of them myself, but I'm worried that I'll mar the.
I'm telling you, man, machinists that are really good, they can feed. First off, like whenever I walk through the shop, I can hear every machine running, and I know what every machine sounds like and what every machine should sound like by the job it's doing.
Yep.
Like literally, and you can hear it too when your guys are working on stuff or start up a truck.
Sure, yeah.
And you don't even know. You're thinking about 500 different things, and I'm walking and I hear the wrong sound.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's wrong. And then I just turn and walk over. Like, what are we doing?
Yep.
Why is it making that? And a lot of like spray casting. Have you ever had any motors come in that have been spray casted?
I know what it is.
Yeah, man, that stuff can eat CVN cutters. It is the hardest.
Really?
Oh, and I can hear that thing. It's like I can hear it from my office if somebody spray casted something. Yeah.
And in reman stuff, they do a lot of spray casting.
Yeah, I actually had a 3412 for a customer come in today, and we're going to do all the lowers on 3412, 48 water directors, and when we put those water directors in, we like even if it doesn't need it, we like a light surface just to make sure we're flush and perfect. And the block was the shop that did it before. A lot of them, even from the factory, come high and low sides on them, 3406, same way. And so they had surfaced it, and it was like one side was at minimum, which is like 16483 or whatever in my head, 15483. And on the other side, it was like 15.7, whatever. It was like 4 thousandths below minimum, which now you're kind of like, that's a little too, even though it has recession in it, it's just too much. And so he's sending it up to Oklahoma for a guy to spray cast it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've,
it's a great fix.
So Cat makes you give them back all their liners. Like when you do a build, you have to give them the liners back. And I've heard that they spray cast those and rehone them out.
I don't know. It's so damn hard. I can't imagine you could hone it. I'm
Really?
I'm kind of spitballing right here, but I just know how hard it is on a CBN cutter. I mean, we will ruin one when it's on. I don't know. I mean, it is harder.
Why else would they want them back?
I don't know if you could fucking do that. I don't know.
I'm speculating, but anyway, better take another caller here. Steven, you're on the air, brother. What can we do for you?
Yeah. So I had a question about cat engines. I work for a Kenworth dealership and hoping to work on some of the older stuff like Cat, old Cummins and stuff, but I got kind of funneled into working on Packars. Nothing but Packars. That's all I work on. Is it too late in the game to maybe switch it up and try to learn Cat? Or are you seeing Cats kind of, I don't know, kind of getting lesser in numbers?
Well, man, I had a Cat guy in my shop a little bit ago, and he told me how many, because they keep track of how many they have active. And I think there's 3 million, is what he said. There's 3 million active Cats on highway right now.
I'll tell you, no, it's not too late. And it's definitely not too late because the car, in my humble opinion, is the worst engine manufacturer for a guy that has 1 or 2 trucks, because they think we're too dumb to machine their product. Like they really think we're just way too dumb. And I'm like going to get on my soapbox about them. We have been doing a bunch of heads for a company here in town that was running a bunch of cars. And so we would surface their heads, because they run like a real dumb well, let me phrase it. They run a different style gasket than everybody else. And so there's a bunch of recession, gasket recession due to these individual gaskets. Because to me, they don't, with a one solid gasket, when you press it, it's going to be pressed uniformly across that gasket. If you start using a bunch of individual gaskets, it's supposed to be uniform, but it's not. It just doesn't work that way. And so there's a bunch of gasket intentions on those heads. And so we would resurface them. And then lo and behold, one of their mechanics finally read a bulletin, which we knew about. And it says you can't surface their heads because they have an engineered bow from the factory that when you go to torque it creates a better torque cylinder head to block. I was like,
right.
We saw it.
Yeah.
And most of the time I tell guys that own a car engine, when they come to me, I ask them, is it in warranty? If it's in warranty, I can only measure the warpage and tell you where it is. And then it's a go, no go for you buying a new head, or your customer buying a new head. So, the company called and like, you resurfaced his head. I was like, yeah, I did the other 75 before it too. And he's like, well, you're not supposed to resurface them. I was like, yeah, I know, but it needs it. It's, it's warped like 3,000, but the gasket indentions sooner or later aren't going to seal. They're like, well, it's a warranty deal,
right,
and you got to buy us a new head. And I was like, okay, where?
It almost,
and it was a $7,000
it's almost like
reman head.
Yeah.
From Kenworth here. And so I went and had my guy pick up the head, and the company called me like, where is it? I was like, well, it's back at the shop. And they're like, why is it back at the shop? It's like, because I'm going to measure it. Like, what? I mean, I was like, trust me, I'm going to piss and match now. And so I measured the thickness of the head and the warpage of it. The head that I bought was thinner than the head that I machined for him. And it was as flat as the head as I gave him back. There was zero natural whatever. And so my problem with them is they're killing the individual driver.
Yeah.
Because you got to go buy a new head, which is,
oh yeah.
And then that was reman.
The only we had last week, we had on a friend of mine. He has a fleet of pack cars, and he absolutely loves them because
Yeah.
they're lighter weight and they get
Oh,
better fuel
yeah.
mileage.
I'm just talking about on my from a machine shop perspective.
But to answer your question, brother, sorry,
Sorry,
I like to get on some tangents, but
No, you guys are good.
it's never too late to learn new things, right? And the thing is if you're doing the pack car, you're kind of doing one of the harder ones out there, so they only get easier from there. Cat is the easiest engine to overhaul, and I think Cummins is probably right behind it. And I personally think your 60 series and your N14s are as far as complicated or a little bit more complicated. Your Cat, it would be the easiest, followed by your ISXs, and then kind of on and on from there. Your Packard, though, is pretty far up there and complicated, up there with your DD15.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it just seems like like the way that they've designed the Packard engine, it's almost just like everything's throwaway. If you find any little problem with it, it's throwaway. Put something new on it.
Yep.
Like even all the way down to like failing injector cups. It's a new head, according to our shop. If you have an injector cup that's leaking or anything like that, it's an entirely new head.
Yeah.
Economically, it's killing.
And you're not, it's all the way down to like not you can't roll in main bearings. You can't do anything like that. So
Yep.
it's just a complete throwaway engine, really, when it fails.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me, anyway.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it is. They just don't allow my company, to work on them. Guys like us. But I still work on a ton of them. I think they're a very good motor. It's just frustrating from my side.
Yep.
That they don't allow it.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I'll shut up about that.
All right, brother.
No, you're good. Yeah, but all right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good night. No, I'm in the same boat as you are, Don. We didn't work on them for a long time. We have one in here right now. We're getting ready to pull in and do, and we've done a couple. But they're not repair friendly.
No,
all.
that's my biggest. That is the only. I think everyone that we see. They're a good motor. They just don't. If you don't allow the 1-2 truck drive,
Yep.
owner, you're going to kill them.
Yeah, if you're a single truck owner operator with a Packard, you're eventually going to be stuck with a disaster.
Yeah,
and that's the unfortunate.
That's what stinks. That's what I don't like.
But the litmus, and I say this all the time, the litmus for a good engine is, does it go 1,000,000 miles? Well, the Packards will do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's yeah.
So, yeah, James Daniel, this guy right here, he's the one that was on last week with all the Packards. I was gonna say, so what was I gonna ask you a question. I was gonna say something about injector cups, right? Our rule of thumb here, and you would know better than anybody because you deal with more heads than anybody on planet Earth, right? Especially in you're getting farther inside of them than pretty much anybody. But kind of our rule of thumb is if you're having an injector cup problem, most of the time we won't do your injector cups because injector cup problems almost always coincide with some kind of external event, like an overheating event or something. And what we've found is if you're having injector cup problems because the engine got overheated, in other words, this head has been cooked, putting new injector cups in is only a Band-Aid that lasts for a little bit of time, and the problem you're having comes right back.
So, I don't know if I totally agree with that because we do so many. I would feel like if that was an issue, we would see more comebacks, right?
Yep.
And so, we do a ton of injector cups. I do see your perspective of what caused them to fail, and heating definitely seems like a very plausible case. But we'll see them where it doesn't leave the tear down area if a head's cracked. When we kind of talked about that C15, and a lot of times the majority of the times the cups that are leaking have nothing. There's no other symptoms or there's no other signs of an overheat on that cylinder head.
Well, right. I'm
Yeah.
only talking when we have a correlation. We have a known event.
Right. But
Or this thing
it
got
doesn't seem like,
overheated.
but it doesn't seem like those head. I mean, I don't see comebacks due to another cup failing afterwards. We see them fail when we like, and this is not very, I mean, but seating corrosion.
Yep.
Where the injector cups sit. And I don't know what the hell causes that. You know, exactly. And we on the old like DD40, you know, the 53s and 71s, we'd actually recut those seats for a good seal when we put them in, you know, like, but
we have a hone tool here for C15s that we can go down in there
and clean it up. Yeah.
Clean all that up. But
yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. And I don't think it's bad practice. I mean, you guys have a lot more liability than I do on it, right?
Right.
You know, I mean, because you've got the whole thing and we just have the piece. But I don't see any. I don't see a correlation to it, you know, for comebacks.
So here's what we've seen. And we do injector cups too. And
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
all the
yeah,
tooling for it. But yeah, if a head has been overheated and its only symptoms are an injector cup problem, and we go in and we put new injector cups in it, and that it was exclusively
I get
caused
where
by
you're going.
overheating, that problem that it's having will show back up in a short amount of time. You know, it might be 10,000 miles, 5,000 miles. We'll see it come back. So if we just basically refuse to do injector cups on an engine that's been overheated.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
And
yeah.
I'm just trying to like pick your brain to see if
but I get, you know, you get some of the story when a customer comes in, right? And then you're the buffer and it comes to me and I get even less of the story from people, right?
Right.
And so rarely do I know the root cause of why the injector cup, you know, we don't have that conversation.
Well, we're able to look.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you touch it first, right? I mean, that's, and so,
we can get in the ECM and the ECM tells us. That's how we know.
Yeah, totally.
But
yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to bounce that off you. We lost one caller. We're going to get to the other two so they don't abandon us as well. Joel, I believe you're on the air, brother. Hello. Hello. Need Paul Harvey to get the rest of the story. Brother, you're on the air, man. Joel, hello. All right, we'll return to the queue and we'll try again here in just a second. Oh, that's him again. Joel, you there? Good grief. Okay, we'll go to this. Nick, you're on the air, brother. What can we do for you?
Aaron, you there?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hey, 2016 ISX. I bought it with 495,000 deleted from California. Got it to 603, cracked the head. Brought it to my guy that did all my previous work. Had him put a head in it, injectors, converted over to a single turbo. And you covered this last week, but I wanted to have you see if you could go over it again. I'm getting the fuel slobber. About 4 hours into it, I got fuel slobber, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. He went through the whole thing. We tried different programs. Fuel slobber. Went through it. Had injectors put it because then I started having injector problems. Put injectors in it. Recall or warranted. Had the head back gone through. Cummins warranted the head. Put another head in it. We got it back. He kept it for 3 or 4 more days. Same thing, fuel slobber. And I know you said that it was the program last week, but this is my third truck, same mechanic, same program, never had this problem before. Just trying to figure out if we're missing something here because my mechanic's at a loss.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about this before where just because it's, is it the exact same CPL, right? Is this one a different CPL and it has different components in it, and that tune is acting way different in that engine versus the other engines?
Okay. The only difference is same motor, same year, third truck. The only difference is I bought this truck and it had all the PDI performance stuff on it when I bought it. That's the only difference. But I mean, literally, it's drastic. I mean, it's like clockwork. You idle it, running on the road, not a drip of slobber, nothing, no leaks, no nothing. It's perfect. It runs perfect. 4 hours, it starts to drip out of the bottom of the turbo. About 6 hours, it starts coming out of the manifold. 10 hours, like if I'm sleeping in the truck with running at 1200 RPMs, it's pouring out of not pouring, but it's coming out of the manifold right out of the head, to the point where it's puddling on the leaf spring, it's puddling on the ground.
That's going to destroy the engine, by the way.
Okay, that's what I figured. And my mechanic, I've been going to this mechanic for years, and he's like, you got nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it. Just idle it up. You should be fine. Well, I got nervous. So we're going on, since he did the warranty on the injectors, warranty on the head. I freaked out and went, well, obviously not. I'm not going overboard. I haven't been idling it. I'm a car hauler, so I got to idle it for 2 or 3 hours when I'm loading. But I stopped sleeping in it. I stopped, I don't idle it at all other than loading and unloading, running on the road.
So there's only one of two things. There's only one of two things that can be going on, or a combination of both, I guess. But it's either for some reason not staying up to operating temperature. That is the number one most common cause of wet stacking. Obviously, it's such a huge deal. It's in. I mean, if you dig into service manuals and all that, it's the number one cause of premature engine failure is the engine's not being up to operating temperature, either from wet stacking and degrading the integrity of the liner internally, or from stacking carbon really bad and taking out your valve train and carbon packing the rings, right? Operating temperature on a diesel engine is everything for longevity. But it doesn't sound like that's your problem, because you're really wet stacking way too fast. You know what I mean? So the only way you could be wet stacking like that is if you are over fueling like crazy. You need to go to somebody else to do your tune.
Okay. And that's kind of what I'm gathering. But the only problem is it's basic. And this mechanic's been good to me. He's warranting everything that he's doing. I haven't paid for anything that I've told you other than the original head. He's covered everything. I haven't paid a dime. He's being good to me, but I'm just at an end. And what did me in is that he said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And like I said, this is the third truck, third motor, same program, and I never had these problems before.
All right, but that's part of the problem. I've talked about this lots of times. He's putting the same program because he only has that program, right?
Okay, well, he actually, not to cut you off, I apologize.
No, you're good.
He's been talking to other mechanics, and he kept it for 5 days and tried tons of different programs. He actually gave it back to me and said, run this for a while. And it was so detuned, I couldn't climb hills without losing 8-10 miles an hour, just climbing little hills. So we tried everything.
Sure.
So I think.
My buddy James in the comment is throwing up a good point. It might be out of time slightly. You might have the timing off. And
out of timing?
Could be.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start there. I'm dropping it off tomorrow. He's going to keep it for 8 days because I'm going on vacation. So we'll see what he comes up with. But I'll definitely bring up the timing issue and see what else we can come up with.
Here's a question: when you're idling it, what is the temperature?
At idle, I'm in Minnesota. It's beautiful weather right now. I'm right about 190, 195.
I mean, like after you've idled it for 3 or 4 hours, what is the temperature sitting at?
It never budges. I do a lot of stuff from Minnesota down to Texas, back and forth. It's always 190, 195. If I'm loaded and I'm climbing through the hills through Oklahoma, I get to about 200, 205 if I'm loaded, and it's obviously hotter down there. That's as high as I've never had it over like twice I've had it over 20 or at 205.
I mean,
But usually it's 195.
if it's staying 190 and above when you're idling, it shouldn't be wet stacking. There's something else going on with
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. It's
Okay.
something to do with either the timing, like James said, or I mean, you keep changing tunes. I get that, but here again is the problem. Nobody is building it. Nobody's doing a tune for that truck, for that CPL. Your buddy's getting other tunes from other people and throwing random tunes at it, which just tells me that he doesn't know what he's doing inside of an engine. Right? Like we use a company out of out of Canada, and every engine's a different one to them. They don't have some pin drive that they're putting in and putting the same tune on everybody's shit. You know what I mean? They want to know all the details. They want to know all the details from me. What does it have on it? What did we put in it? Oh, you know, if it's PDI intake, what does it have? They want to know every variable. They want to know what differentials we have. They want to know what gear ratio we're running. They want to know every single detail that we can possibly give them because they're building a tune for it.
So at the end of the day, it's definitely, since not the temper, it's definitely the tune, just like you said last week. Then
I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. I seriously doubt it's out of time.
Okay.
It certainly could be, but I doubt it because it wouldn't run well.
Yeah, it runs perfect. It runs beautiful. I get huge fuel mileage. I mean, it's a perfect motor other than idling. So it's got to be the tune then. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate you guys' time, and you guys have a good night.
Yep, you too, man. Bye.
Take care.
All right, we got two more callers. These will be the last two. We got to let Don get out of here soon. So, guy comment in the comment section. Back to AMSOIL being so expensive. Does it bring it back into the realm of being practical if you're using the bypass filter system and taking it out? And I'm assuming he's talking about taking it out to 100,000 miles. Of course, that's exactly what AMSOIL intends for you to do with it and why they can justify that expense. But most people just can't bring themselves to do that upfront cost. So they price themselves out of the market any way you look at it, right? Do some guys do it? Obviously, or they wouldn't exist as a company, right? So obviously, there are people out there that do it, but in the real world, very few people are going to put that upfront expense up. So anyway, hello, you're on the air.
Hi there. I got a 2002 Peterbilt with a Cat 6NZ in it. Here's my problem. I can't get it to operating temperature because the fan kicks on at about 175 and it keeps it cool. The truck has a brand new rad in it, and doesn't matter how long I hold it to the floor pulling hills. I've never seen 200 on the gauge, and I've changed both thermostats. I thought maybe they were stuck open. The sensor that is in that thermostat housing, I've changed that. But the bottom line is the fan comes on at 175, and as you keep pushing the truck and the fan can't keep up and it continues to get a little hotter, the fan is always kicking in out the whole time, but it kicks in enough and stays on long enough that I never see 200 out of it.
Have you tried turning the AC off?
Yes.
And
I've also changed all the AC sensors. I was told to do that. There's 3 of them. We changed all 3.
Yep. So yeah, here's one thing, right out the gate. Where you're reading inside the truck is a totally different spot than the ECM's reading. The ECM is reading pre-thermostat and you're reading post-thermostat. The ECM knows way more about the temperature of that engine than you do. So unless you're riding around with a computer in the truck, monitoring what the ECM sees, it's very, very likely and most likely probable that ECM is seeing way higher temperatures than you, and it's doing its job and it's doing it correctly. And you're seeing a totally different temperature that is not correct. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I was actually wondering if that's possible, that I'm not getting the proper readout on the truck.
it's
I
more,
can leave the truck idle. It never goes over 150 till I start driving.
yeah, it's highly unlikely. You need to find somebody with a computer that can, will ride around with you for 20 minutes and compare the two. But I wouldn't do any more.
Okay.
I wouldn't do any more part swapping until I've done that.
Okay. Was there one more sensor somebody told me about on the top of the engine that senses coolant temperature that would have anything to do with it? I think it's about the only one I haven't changed.
That's the one that you're reading. The one that the ECM reads is in the front of the engine. It's really hard to get to.
Okay. Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good then. I guess I need to get someone to check out. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good luck.
Yeah.
Arthur, you're on the air, brother.
It's me again. I'm listening to you guys talking about the overheating of the motors and when you do not use the block. As I said, I needed to bring a motor down to you. From what I understand, the motor that I'm going to bring down has 1.8 million miles on it. What I do know about, so far is that they did put an icebox radiator on the truck. They did see that there was some coolant coming off of the back of the exhaust manifold. They don't know which port it's coming from because the motor's tilted back. But they put an icebox radiator on it. The truck supposedly had a rebuild in 2021, which none of this makes sense. It supposedly only has 178,000 on the rebuild. But my concern now, after hearing you guys talk tonight about when you actually get rid of the motor, is you said something about it overheating and whether the head is bad or not. So that's where I'm trying to, after hearing that, trying to figure out them putting the icebox radiator on it and the fact that there's some coolant coming off of the exhaust manifold. Is that sound like something that sounds like the truck had an overheating issue, and is the motor? Do you think the motor is it's rebuildable? Is it, you think it rebuild? I mean, it runs great according to my knowledge. I took it for a test drive. It was not under load. It was bobtail, but it doesn't have any major issues that I can see. So, what do you go by to determine whether the motor is rebuildable?
That's a real hard question. The lower end, yes. Oh, I mean, as long as you got deck height, that's what we look at. Deck height's kind of for us machinists, tells us if it's rebuildable, because everything else can be replaced. Cylinder head is a whole different beast, but like Aaron was saying, I mean, cylinder heads these days are so much more cost effective and somewhat better than OEM. That motor 100% is rebuildable in my mind, as long as you have enough deck height. And the reason I talk about deck height is just as motors get rebuilt, we typically, us as machinists, like to resurface the cylinder head and resurface the block when we see them both together. Cylinder heads notoriously are the weakest link of a motor in my mind. They're the effect of overheating. They're the ones that tell you first something happened. And so, we have a very high volume of head rebuilds at our shop. And so we surface every cylinder head that comes through. And there is a no-go thickness of every cylinder head made that the OEM tells us when it's time to change it. So the motor itself, yes. Cylinder head, I would and I think Aaron would also recommend just put a new cylinder head on it.
Especially if you think it got over.
New head.
Yeah.
Yep. And when you're talking,
I think it's had an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're pretty positive it had an event, an external event, an overheat, like Don was just saying, the head bears the brunt. you know, it's usually the best avenue is just to get a new head and move on with
Just
life.
move on. Go make money.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure of it. I just know that it's just some of the things that they did that kind of leads me to believe that, yeah, they could have been shooting for better cooling, but the fact that the coolant coming off the back of the exhaust manifold, I don't know if it's the head or the gasket, but the icebox radiator, and then it's a 6NZ, but it has a 2WS tune. I don't know if that really matters. I don't know that much about Caterpillar motors. So I'm just not sure exactly what happened. But I mean, if I have to put a new head on it, I'm willing to do it. I'm looking for longevity.
Yeah,
I really don't
100%.
want to get in there and then play around with resurfacing a head when I should just put another one on. And according to the ECM, I know you can change them, but according to the ECM readout that I have in front of me, there's 1.8 million miles on the ECM, well, supposedly on the motor, but it's been rebuilt before and supposedly at 178,000 miles ago. So that leads me to believe there may be an issue if it's only 178,000 miles ago, and I already got to do something again, you know?
Yeah, but probably got overheated.
Okay. Okay, so that would the best thing would just be most likely just put a new head on it.
Yep. You don't have enough mileage on the bottom
Okay.
end. Just put a new head on it and roll tide.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll be talking. Thanks again, fellas. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good night. When you're talking about deck height, you're talking about, and I'm assuming, where the center of the bore would be for the crank to the deck.
Correct.
That's what you're talking about.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that's got to be within spec. Yeah, I mean, if you get too low, you can literally smack the head with the piston crowns.
Especially with interference motors, 100%. You know, I mean, that's like, well, shit, the C13, I think, comes out at thousandths and a half.
That's it.
I think so, you know.
That's why you didn't want to cut that one for
Correct. 100%. We'll still, but yeah, no, that's, yeah, there's, but yeah, I'm not smart enough to know, like, especially with a piston that has recession, why, but if it's a push rod motor, right? I mean, just all of that stuff, right? You just kind of keep squunching it down. Is my best.
Right. So every time you're cutting it,
you're saying here's a little less time for it, you know.
And they do come damn close.
What do you mean?
The piston comes really close to the cylinder head.
So on some, yeah, on some, no. Every motor's kind of different. I mean, most of them have recession, piston recession.
Now, how much are we talking about?
30?
30,000.
I think so. You know, but I mean, I'll start. They're all different, right? And it's just compression. I mean, on some motors, I mean, shit.
But in reality, 30,000 isn't very much. I use 32,000 shims all the time.
Yeah,
and they're not that big.
it's not that much. It's not that much. But I mean, we've had it on like 7.3s, you know, the old V8 Ford, you know, like we've even done it on bigger engines where we are past that recommended recession or protrusion or whatever it is, and we got a guy and we'll just fly cut the piston.
Oh, really?
To get it back.
I was actually going to ask you.
Yeah, 100%. No, we do that. Yeah, no, I mean that's another way to save it. It's just like on cylinder heads, you know, I mean, most of our measurements are on valve recession, and that's, you know, but the problem is if you keep cutting the cylinder head, right? Like, let's say Detroit anybody gives you 10,000s from new to minimum, right? Or even more. Let's say as you keep getting closer to minimum, right? You keep checking recession, so you cut that seat a little deeper. You got to cut that seat a little deeper, right? Well, your valve recession is great, but if you go to the top side of the head, you're going to run out of rocker arm.
So when you're changing the valve seat recession, that's going to change your overhead.
100%.
So
100%.
So when a guy's doing his lash,
you're going to run out of lash.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, and it happened to us with the Series 60. You know, one of our best customers never asks, like, what's it going to cost? Like, and he has a bunch of trucks and it's all Series 60, all 12.7s, right? And we did the block, kind of like what we did for you, and the cylinder head. And he and I had the conversation, like, we're experimenting on your block with this block saver. What my dingbat head didn't think about was, well, your cylinder heads are all at the end of life also, right? Because I mean, yeah, you're great on recession, but the top side's the problem.
Sure.
And so that became the bigger issue with it running bad, is they still had valve lash, but it was so angular, right, that it was wrong, And so just a new head, just bought him a new head and it fixed it like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Huh.
Totally.
So you can't go forever.
Can't go forever.
And that's been a few months ago now that we did that saver.
I think that saver is great. I think it should be for a lot more.
Yeah,
we should cover a lot more motors.
Yeah, we use it and we haven't heard from that guy.
Yeah.
So.
And the my customer, I mean, I still see him once, a lot. And that motor, after we put the new head on it, 0 issues. And it makes total sense. I mean, why wouldn't it work?
No, it did work.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it.
Do they only make them for Detroit's?
Yeah, that one company does.
Huh.
Does it? Yeah. I mean, it's same as like, oh God, which one is it? Like the 6.4 or something, like, well, there's a few manufacturers that make different thickness head gaskets for that.
Yep.
For saving it. And something like the Perkins or something like that. I can't remember one motor, but they make like 5 different gaskets for it. And it's not to save it. It's just because they're talking about compression.
Sure. Huh. Well, Don, we appreciate you coming on.
Heck yeah, man.
100%. We appreciate everybody participating. We're 12 minutes past when the show stops. I know we tend to go a lot longer sometimes, but when we have a guest, we like to let them go home and have a life. But anyway, you have a unique perspective.
Thanks.
Really cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe we'll get you back on here for too long since you live in town.
Heck yeah. Anytime you want.
Well, cool. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you participating. We'll be on here again next week, 7 to 9 Central Time, Hack Nation Live. Again, everybody, Don from Duffin Diesel. He's located in northern San Antonio. The business is Duffin Diesel.
Correct.
And they do all of our work for us. Great company, great guys. And as you can tell, 2 things about Don here that he expressed on this show is, him and I are kindred spirits on, we do shit to just get guys back feeding their family, and fuck all the guys that want to call us hacks or hillbillies or whatever else. They're not footing the bill for whatever guy it is, So I've never cared about all the naysayers and stuff, but it was refreshing to hear you come on here and just kind of talk about some of the things you've done for guys, over the years, where it really comes down to, well, this isn't exactly right, but do you want to feed your family or what? What
yeah,
do you want
I mean,
do?
it's bottom line.
So that and just just that whole atmosphere of how you treat people afterwards, and you've been great with us, and a lot of people, we're in the same industry.
100%. Yep.
And we get about 0 feedback from people saying, "Oh, those Duffin Diesel guys," So
yeah, well, I mean, trust, we make mistakes, but I mean, my thing is, like, if we made it, we made it.
Yeah.
Like, we are not perfect, but I do have a pretty big ego that we get it right 99% of the time. So
Sure.
when it does, I definitely check it. But if I'm wrong, it is what it is. Let's get it right.
Yep. Anyway, everybody, thank you for participating in the show. You guys have a good night. That's a wrap. Don from Duffin Diesel, thanks for being here.
Heck yeah.
Love you guys all a long time. We'll see you next week.